If you research the topic of leadership, certain characteristics will come up over and over again. Some of the top characteristics of leadership include building, nurturing, and maintaining relationships. Team building is also important. Other characteristics include having vision, creative problem solving, planning, good communication, and integrity. Jesus showed all of these qualities. He is the ultimate example of a servant leader motivated by love. If we want to learn about leadership, we need to look at the master leader. We need to learn from his life, his teaching, and his example of serving in love. Jesus taught and healed crowds of people. Many followed him closely, including several women. Jesus focused much of his teaching and leadership on 12 people, known as the disciples. He called each of them to follow him. He didn't call them to boost his ego or to be his fan base wherever he went. He called them so he could teach them by living life with them on a daily basis. He asked them to listen to him, watch him, and follow his example. He didn't ask them to do anything he didn't do as well. The disciples were a group of people who wouldn't have been together if Jesus hadn't called each of them. Anyone looking at them would think they were a strange mix of people. So, who were they? We don't know all of the details for certain, but we can gain a lot of information from what Scripture says and what we know about the cultural context in their day. 4 were fishermen: Andrew, Peter, James, and John. Andrew and Peter probably worked for other fishermen. They were likely rough and uneducated. James and John likely owned a fishing business with their father. 1 was a tax collector, Matthew. He worked for the Roman government and would have had some education in order to hold his prominent job. Tax collectors were hated because they earned money by keeping part of what they collected. The more they collected from others, the more money they made. We can be pretty sure Matthew had money. 1 was a politician, Simon, known as a zealot. He would have been involved in politics. He might have even tried to create a revolution to overthrow the Roman government. And 1 was a thief and traitor, Judas. We don't know much about what he did before becoming a disciple, but John calls him a thief and embezzler. All 4 Gospels describe him as a traitor for betraying Jesus. There are 5 more disciples that we don't know much about: Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Thaddeus, and another James, son of Alphaeus. It was definitely a group of people you wouldn't normally expect to see living, traveling, and working together. What held them together as a group? They spent quality time together in everyday life. They fished, cooked, walked, and talked. They applied lessons to real life. They ministered together, talking about what they learned. Then they shared it with others. They were allowed to be honest with each other. They shared all sorts of emotions, from weeping to joy. But above all else, love held them together. Jesus loved them, and they loved him. Jesus taught his disciples about loving one another. He did this first by explaining how the Father loves him. Next, by explaining how he loves his disciples. Then he addressed how his disciples should love him. Then finally, how his disciples should love one another. Let's read John 15, 9 through 17. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, For everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command: love each other. The greatest command is to love like Jesus. In following Jesus, we need to love like him. In leading others, we need to love like him. In Matthew, Jesus gives his disciples a practical example of what this kind of loving leadership looks like. Let's turn to Matthew chapter 20, verses 25 to 28. Jesus called the disciples together and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Jesus explained that true leadership in God's kingdom is servant leadership. The first becomes the last, the greatest becomes the least. Loving and leading like Jesus requires a deliberate choice. It requires sacrificing for the benefit of others. Greatness is determined by servanthood, not by exercising power and authority over others. And loving servant leadership invites everyone, from fishermen to tax collectors, to be included.